Hello and welcome to Millennial Thermom. We're in season 3, and today's video we're going to be chatting a little bit more about holistic postpartum mental health. So, as I mentioned in my season premiere, which you can check that out here, I am all about talking about holistically, collectively, generationally. How can we continue to take baby steps towards health and wealth beyond just numbers and beyond just I'm happy, I'm good. So, just keep watching because I'm going to break down some of these areas for y'all. So, to chat holistically speaking, I know that there are different ways in which people talk about holistics, and I have heard a few different ones, and I'll share some of them. One of them is definitely one that I gravitate towards about holistic health being mind, body, spirit, right? All of you. If there is something that is impacting your body, it's impacting your mind, it's impacting your spirit, it's going to be impacting you in general. And sometimes we are so disconnected from one or the other that we don't even know why, but we know that we're not feeling good. We're not doing well. There's something missing. I sometimes hear it like there is this light that's just been dimmed. And when I hear that, I feel like that's really spiritual, right? Like if my heart feels empty, I feel like I have no purpose, of course that's going to impact my mental health and the self-talk and vice versa and my body, right? I might start getting some tension. I might be stressing out about things. I might be shaming myself. And if there's anything that I know as a therapist and as a human is that trauma, stress, all of that, overwhelm, adversity, oppression, it can live in the body too, and our body has ways of telling us and trying to communicate with us what we need. And we also have our spirit and our mind that do that. So that is just one of the ways that we can think about holistic mental health is we want to look at these different areas of mind, body, spirit. How are your current daily practices or the support that you do or do not have impacting those areas? So that's the first one. And to backtrack just a little bit, postpartum and why I'm so passionate about postpartum is that I think that as a society, as a culture, we do not talk about the real transformative experience that happens in motherhood and in becoming a parent. We dismiss it, it feels like. And I think that some of the structural systems that we have in place, I'm in the United States, so that's what I'll be speaking on. But some of these structural practices, like not guaranteeing paid parental leave for many, not having accessible childcare, all of that and more can add to our mental health and overall health postpartum and even when we're pregnant too, and even when we're like raising adults basically or or have adult children. So that's why I think that we really need to like zoom out and say, okay, why is it that so many women experience perinatal mood and anxiety disorders? Why is it that parents are burning out at such high rates? And I think it comes to the point where we have to push past the it's the person and really start looking at the system. And of course, I am a big believer. I did become a therapist after all, that there are definitely big strides and transformation and change that you can experience one on one in therapy in your own reflection in your own mind. But that's only going to take you so far because if the systems around you, if you're still not getting any support or help, we can't afford daycare or whatever else, there's only a certain like reach that we can get, if that makes sense. Trying to come up with a visual, as y'all probably know, or as you're getting to know me, I'm a visual person. So I will try to display different images for examples and stuff as we chat. But that's specifically why I wanted to talk about postpartum because it's such a beautiful, wild roller coaster. And yet, most of us don't get a checkup until 6 weeks. And then they ask us, how are we? We're supposed to say good, right? Because I got a baby, but no, I'm not good. Like, not in the sense of like, oh yeah, I'm not confident. I'm not calm. I'm not grounded, right? But we don't always know how to baby step towards that. And a lot of the times when we do actually share how we actually feel, we get dismissed. We say, well, at least you're healthy. At least the baby is good. At least you got to have kids, right? And I know that everybody's on a different journey in their own parenting and mothering and etc. experience. And I'm just here to advocate for believing people's experiences. And if a postpartum parent is saying that they're feeling a little bit lonely, really being there with them in that space and seeing like I can imagine it's lonely. Like what does your connection look like? And then when we actually are able to be curious and open with our postpartum parents, we're able to see that there are so many things in their life that have adjusted, that have shifted, that have changed internally and externally. So I wanted to make sure to share some of those in this video. So I didn't want to do a whole TED talk on here, but I do want to share some of those areas of holistic mental health that may be applicable to you, just as you think about like, all right, how am I doing in, my motherhood, my parenting, my postpartum, wherever you're at. I think this can apply to anybody really. But let's just talk about some of those areas. So one of them is emotional health. So this is where we are able to kind of acknowledge for ourselves all the different experiences that we're feeling. There can be grief, there can be joy, there can be confusion, there can be rage, there can be some ambivalence, there can be some whatever other thing that might come your way in this postpartum experience and parenting experience. And that first tenet is just really embracing and checking in on that area of our health. How are we recognizing our emotions, and then are we able to process them, talk about them, journal them through, go to therapy, tend to community storytelling, a círculo or plática or something around this experience. And it doesn't have to be just around your motherhood experience or your parenting experience, but parenting is a big role, and I truly believe it impacts everything I do. So being okay to be like, yeah, sometimes my parenting impacts my relationships because I kind of have to choose, like, I have to set boundaries and choose what people I can really feel safe around with my baby or whatever it is for you, right? That was just a random example, but that's one, just the emotional health. Second one is physical health. So this is really considering how nutrition, if you've had any birth experiences or sleep deprivation, hormonal changes, any chronic pain, anything like that, how is it affecting you? And there are definitely some things within the physical health world where I think we can tap into our culture a little bit more. And I had read this book called Thriving Postpartum, and she talks about the wisdom of la cuarentena in traditional Mexican practices. And it just reminded me and reinforced to me that my culture already has so many beautiful ways of caring for postpartum parents and baby, not babies, but parents and their babies then will be positively impacted when we support the postpartum parent. But there is like baños de hierbas, there is steam, like I think that translates to I don't really know what it translates to herb baths. That's how you know I'm bilingual. I know some words here, I know some words there. But they have that. They have all these like beautiful like massages and warm, like womb warming that when baby number two is on the horizon, I definitely am going to tap into that resource a little bit more. I didn't know to tap into it before, but now I do. So again, physical health is just how is your body? What did it go through? And then if we're talking specifically about holistic postpartum mental health, how is what your body is going through impacting your mental health and your well-being? So if let's say I have really bad bleeding, right, postpartum, I might feel like I cannot deal with this pain right now, or I feel like I can't do anything. And then that's self-talk, right? Like, oh, you can't do anything. So then you might feel lazy. And then it's like, wait, why is resting lazy? Right. And it's like this whole mindset shift that happened for me. And I encourage everyone to be open to those mindset shifts in this transformation. That's physical health. So let's jump into the next one. So this one is kind of more specifically related to the mental and cognitive health, which is already part of mental health. But this is where we're talking about those intrusive thoughts, those identity shifts, that brain overload, invisible load overload that some of us feel sometimes. The what do I do? How do I prioritize? Time management. So basically the things that are going around in our mind impacting how we feel on a day to day. Some things that can be helpful for that is, your therapy is a great resource, but so are meditations or mindfulness or slowing down or self-compassion or hugs or whatever it is that is going to help bring like some calm to your mental health too, and everything that you're going through in in that sense. Or we'll chat about spiritual health. So this can look different to everyone, but some examples could include connecting to your ancestors, connecting to your divine creator, other spiritual rituals or practices that keep you grounded or connected to your source. So for me, praying and trying to read the Bible at least a little bit every day really keeps me grounded. For you, it might be something else. Maybe it's, having an altar with your ancestors or spending more time in nature, which actually we really do love nature too. And some of these spiritual practices that have been passed down can offer wisdom, right? In just navigating this new identity and being okay with our values shifting, our purpose shifting, our call shifting based off on our experiences, which I've heard from other moms too, that motherhood, that first time especially, was like, whoa, I did not expect it to hit me like that, but it did. I mean, I left my whole job after having a baby, many, many different reasons, right? But one of them was I felt like my purpose has shifted a little bit and I needed to learn different things and try different strategies and lean into this nurture caretaker role a little bit. So that's just an example of how it happened for me, but for you all, it might look a little different. Five, relational health. So this is really how your relationships end up shifting and dynamics kind of twist and change depending on who you're talking to. So let's say before you used to be that friend that would pick up the phone whenever anybody called and go visit them whenever they needed you, and then you're realizing like, oh snaps, I don't have that capacity anymore, especially in this new role that I have that requires a lot of this relational attention, because parenting is a relationship. It's a relationship to a new little human being we created. And it's okay to say, to feel like, okay, maybe I can't pour into that relationship as much as I used to because now I have to pour over here. But that might also come with learning how to set boundaries, right? Setting limits, being okay with feeling like I feel guilty, but knowing like, no, I'm not guilty. I didn't do anything bad. I just can't show up in the same ways anymore. And again, how it's connected to your mental health. So creating these safe community spaces. I mean, I've had the Madrehood cafecitos where we can talk about this, but other settings like that, other community settings that you can get to, talking to other parents or mamas or whoever, can also help with that validation of like, okay, so you're also struggling with setting in boundaries here or pushing back there or even navigating new relationship dynamics with your partner, right? Like, I mean, that whole first year is like truly a learning curve. And I think that this involves our relationships too. So we have to learn new ways to communicate and be on the same team. So that's relational health. Then I also wanted to talk about financial and environmental or cultural health, if that's a word, because there are some things that will impact us postpartum that sometimes are a little bit more related to what's going on outside. Or, yeah. So, like navigating systemic barriers, for example, like I mentioned, if there's lack paid parental leave, if there's housing insecurity, if there's difficulty with healthcare, or we're fighting our healthcare company because of our birth, true story, like trying to advocate, like, hey, this was covered, right? That can also impact your mental health. If there's a lot of political climate, political tension, or violence, or anything like that, that will also impact your mental health. How could it not? Right. So I think this is where I like to throw in the collective and the generational, because some of these things have been passed down generationally, and some of these things also just have been created by the collective. So if we have a culture where we don't have this paid maternity leave, like I mentioned, then we may be more likely to undervalue care work or the care workers, because it's like, hey, you don't make any money when you're caring for the baby at home. Why should you make money if you're caring for somebody else on the outside? And I think that is upside down. I think that the people who are caring for others are one of the most valuable, one of the most needed people in our society. And unfortunately, I don't think we're always looking out for them or caring for them. And I think that's why I want us to consider the financial and the cultural systemic waters that be. How is that impacting me? Because I don't know if I have mentioned yet, but my husband and I partner with money and mental health webinars and workshops because we really want to help people see how they can make a change in their circle, community, wherever, using finances as a tool, as a resource to, yes, meet their needs and also then make an impact in whatever way they would like. And I think that's what it really comes down to is building that generational wealth beyond the numbers and beyond the digits, really, and more into these values. Like, I want my child to know that she is loved. I want her to know that generosity is where it's at. I want her to know that money cannot buy you happiness, but it can buy you some experiences. And if you take those experiences and have fun, then that's kind of happiness, right? But at the end of the day, it really will come down to the experiences. And when you're looking at your life, rewinding at the end of your life, when you're rewinding and looking back at this season, really trying to think about what are those things that made my life meaningful and implementing them, baby steps. Which relates to my last point for today is that work life rhythm also impacts our postpartum mental health. So, just to give an example, I think postpartum will throw your whole schedule and routine out the window if you've been somebody who has had solidish routines, right? Like, okay, I work out at this time and then I feed myself here and then I try to take a nap there, whatever. Your work life rhythm will be all discombobulated, likely, in that first year postpartum. And finding healthier rhythms for this new you is also important. So, I mean, this past season, season two, for me, was really helping establish those habits and those systems and those routines to bring health back to me. I was about 13, 14 months postpartum when I started this past season and when I started these habits. So it did take a little while for me. And my encouragement is just like take your baby steps in whatever direction towards healthier, slower rhythms that take care of you too. Whether you're a working parent, stay-at-home mom, or somewhere in between, like me, I feel like I'm in between. You can still find those moments of rest. And not only can you, I feel like you deserve to. You deserve to rest. You deserve to feel like your brain can slow down a little bit. That doesn't necessarily mean that the chatter is going to go away or that, your never ending to-do list isn't going to be floating around. But being able to meet ourselves in that and say, it's okay. I gave myself 30 minutes to journal or 5 minutes to journal about this later today. I'm going to worry about that then. I'm just going to breathe right now. That has been game changing for me. Or I'm just going to give myself a hug. That's going to be like, that has been life changing. And I'm actually going to record our next video, same outfit around self compassion, because I think that was one of those skills that has helped me slow down and really meet my needs in my day too. But I really want you all to reclaim slow living, rest, and a rhythm that is aligned with your traditions and your culture and your values. That's not just, oh, I hustle hard and I'm super productive because I come from a line of like hustling hard women that are very productive. And I know that the toll that takes on their bodies. And if you're anything like me, you're ready to embrace health and wealth holistically, then we're going to do it a little slower. So I'm just so grateful that y'all are here watching my first official video outside of the welcome to season 3 video because I really wanted to show y'all my heart behind the holistic postpartum mental health and some of those areas that go within there. So again, this is going to continue to expand and grow as I continue to expand and grow. But I hope that just shows you a little bit about where you can see yourself and what baby step do you want to take. So for an example, in all those examples that I gave, those areas, maybe I'm somebody that feels like my relational health is an area I want to spend a little more focus and time and energy on. Then I'm just gonna say, okay, that's my baby step towards holistic health. And that means for me, and I'm just gonna use my example with my daughter who is about 18 months now. In order for me to build my relational health with my daughter, we're gonna go to the park at least three days a week and we're gonna play. And I'm not saying that that's easy because I literally did this and I realized like, oh snaps, I think I need to learn how to play because growing up, playing was not productive. In school, playing was not productive. And all these systems that we're conditioned in, playing is not productive. But right now, playing is the most productive, most meaningful thing I can do. So I'm going to learn how to play with my daughter. And I even that example, I don't know if y'all caught that, but even the relational health is also helping my mental health because then I'm learning how to play and my mental health will remind me like, hey, when you play, that's also good for you. You're also enough when you play. You're also doing exactly what you need to do. Hope that that was helpful in seeing different ways of your postpartum mental health. And I hope that you subscribe. So we're going to keep chatting about different holistic mental health practices and postpartum mental health practices and motherhood and just practical skills for you to take in your day to day. And yeah, we'll just keep posted. Definitely check out the description for any links and I hope y'all take care. Bye.